Minister, I worked with you to enact the fossil fuel divestment bill, but we now need to go much further and ensure that the whole financial system divests from fossil fuels. We have a carbon tax on our citizens who, in the vast majority of instances, presently cannot avoid paying that, and yet we're not taxing investments on fossil fuel industries, which make it much harder for people to switch to clean solutions.
Thank you, Deputy Naughten. Ireland was one of the first countries to divest public money from fossil fuel investments. The Fossil Fuel Divestment Act of 2018 was signed into law by the President of Ireland in December 2018. The Act imposes certain prohibitions and restrictions with respect to the investment by the NTMA of assets of the Irish Strategic Investment Fund in certain fossil fuel undertakings. It prohibits ISOF from directly investing in any undertaking that generates 20% or more of its turnover from the exploration for or extraction of or refinement of a fossil fuel such as oil, natural gas, peat, coal or any derivative thereof intended for use in the production of energy by combustion. Where the agency becomes aware that an undertaking in which such assets have been so invested by it is or has become a fossil fuel undertaking, the Act requires the agency to divest the assets of ISOF from such investment. The Act also makes provision for a restriction in such investment when the investment is of an indirect nature, that is, investment of the assets of the fund in an investment product or in a collective investment undertaking. ISOF has now developed a list of 246 fossil fuel companies in which it will not invest, as determined by criteria within the Act. This list is updated on a semi-annual basis in line with the methodology which is aligned to the legislation and is available on the website of ISOF.
Minister, that is very welcome and it is a very positive initiative. But look, there's little point in the public making monumental efforts to meet the targets set out in the Climate Action Plan if their investments and deposits are being used to fund further oil exploration or increased use of fossil fuels. This year, investors in coal production will have a bumper return and profits. We need to see full transparency from our banks and our financial institutions, and we need to raise awareness among the public. Fossil fuel investment needs to be treated just like tobacco investment, but this has to be done at EU level and not just domestically. Now, Minister, you're President of the Eurogroup. You sit on the European Council of Finance Ministers, and we need to see at EU level measures taken to force banks, asset managers and listed companies to publish transition plans on how they will actually divest from fossil fuels and decarbonise.
Thank you, Deputy. Well, firstly, on a national level, this is what ISOF are already doing. As I said, they have published a list of the nearly 250 fossil fuel companies that they do not invest in, much of it for the reason you've just outlined, that we believe as a country that it is appropriate that we're not investing in fuels and in technologies that can do more harm to the future of our world and our national environment. ISOF are now doing that, and they were one of the first agencies of their kind to make a move of this nature. In relation to the other 2 points that you've made to me, firstly regarding work that's happening at a European level, again the Commission are doing this. They have brought forward what they refer to as taxonomy proposals, brought forward by Commissioner McGuinness, and what they have done is they're looking to break down and segment different kinds of investments based on the impact they can have on our environment, and in turn then use this as a way of influencing and guiding the investment decisions that are made by financial markets. So that work is underway, and Commissioner McGuinness a few weeks ago published proposals with regard to that.
Minister, part of the problem is that no one actually knows what green finance means. And if Ireland and the Central Bank lead by example as a key EU financial centre, and for this to happen right across the EU, we could provide the clarity on what is sustainable investment and the powers to hold financiers to account. We could help to revolutionise this sector and lead to an exponential drive to net zero emissions. Now, the International Financial Reporting Standards Foundation has announced that it will develop a single set of standards on sustainability disclosure requirements. The adoption of this by the International Organisation of Securities Commissions would transform the global financial markets, and this needs to be spearheaded at EU level by the Eurogroup and by EU finance ministers.
Thank you, Deputy. I think your point about the need to tell people what we are doing is really relevant to this debate, because much of what you are calling on me to do and calling on the European Union to do is happening. So I've just mentioned what ISIF have done. Only a few weeks ago, the Governor of the Central Bank of Ireland wrote to all of the CEOs that are involved in, I think, in the insurance sector in relation to investment decisions they make, reminding them of the need to be aware of their commitments under ESG, under more sustainable investment decisions. And as I said to you a moment ago, what the Commission are now doing through their taxonomy proposals, which maybe isn't a clear name for what they are doing, is looking to have a common way of understanding what is the impact of investment decisions on the future of our environment, and use that then to influence and guide more sustainable investment decisions by insurance companies, investment companies, and that work is happening. And maybe a point, Deputy Naughten, that I should consider off the back of your question is find ways in which we can better communicate this to a country that wants to see this work done.